Okay guys, so parabola for question number 2, y is equal to negative x squared plus x plus 2. So we know it's a parabola or a quadratic graph when you can see the x squared in the equation, and it is the highest exponent, which it is in this equation. And we know that a parabola should either be like a happy face or an unhappy face. Okay, so the way that we can tell whether we're going to get a happy face or an unhappy face is the sign in front of the x squared. It's a negative, so we're going to have an unhappy face in this graph over here. But if it was a positive number like 3 or 4, then you'd get a happy face as a shape. Okay, so this is the one we should get when we do this table. Okay, so we have to find the values of y when x is a certain value. Okay, so we're going to find out what y is when x is negative 2. So if y is equal to negative x squared plus x plus 2, and we know x is negative 2, we're going to say y is equal to negative. The best thing to do is to keep the brackets when you insert these values in place of x. So we're going to open the bracket, negative 2, close bracket squared, plus negative 2 plus 2. So negative 2 squared will be positive 4, plus negative 2 plus 2. So I'll remove all the brackets now. So negative 4 minus 2 plus 2, which is just negative 4. That's the first value over there. X is 3, so we're going to say y is equal to negative x squared plus x plus 2. So when x is 3, keep in the brackets, negative 3 squared plus 3 plus 2 is negative 9 plus 3 plus 2, which is going to be negative 4. There we go. Negative 4, and you can see that the parabola is symmetric, so the values on the left hand side will be sort of the same on the right hand side. So we can kind of predict that negative 10 should appear at the 4. But let's have a look, let's double check that. So y is equal to negative x squared plus x plus 2. So when x is equal to 4, it's going to be equal to negative 4 squared plus 4 plus 2. And that's negative 16 plus 6, which is equal to negative 10. And that's what we get. Those will give us 3 marks. So now what we've got to do is, on the grid, we actually have to draw this graph. So we'll put this point by point. Negative 3, negative 10. When x is negative 3, y is negative 10. Okay, I'm on a computer, so I'm going to do this very accurately. I'll try my best to give it as accurate as possible, but you can just double check it if you want to. Negative 2, negative 4. Okay, negative 4 is going across to negative 2. I'm assuming that this is going to be, so there's going to be 10 blocks between each of these units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, my eyes aren't too good. Okay, so I'm just going to estimate, but let's have a look. So negative 1 is 0, so it's a pretty easy one. Negative 1, 0 is going to go over here. And 0, 2, 0, 2 is going to go there. 1, 2 is going to go here. We go 2, 0, and 3 go down 3 to negative 4. So it's going to sort of be in line with this one, and then 4 and negative 10. There we go. So those are our points. So now we just draw a line through them. And since the parabola is symmetrical, the turning point will be between these 2 points. You can see these points over here are the same y values. So the turning point will be in between these values. So in between 0 and 1 is 0.5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find this 0.5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 0.5. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to plug 0.5 into this equation, find out what the y value is for 0.5, and then plot the turning point on this graph. So y is equal to negative x squared plus x plus 2 negative a half squared plus a half plus 2. So it's going to be negative of a quarter plus a half plus 2. So it's going to be 2.5 minus 1/4. So if you want, you can use fractions. Okay, if you want to, so for example, 2.5 minus, if you want to make the bases the same, will be 4/2 minus a quarter, which is 2.25. So that's the value of the turning point. So 2.25. So you'll just roughly estimate if it's 5 over here, it's going to be basically 1 up and a little bit over there. So that's the turning point. So now all we do is you draw a nice smooth line through these points. Okay, so if you'll do this in pencil, so if you need to erase it, as you can see, this is not the best. I've missed these points completely, but this point should be that line. So your line is to go through all of these points, and you'll get marks for the line going through those points. So not as badly as I've done over here. So that's the first question. On the grid, draw the line of symmetry of a graph. The line of symmetry is the line which basically you can draw that makes one side symmetrical to the other, or a mirror image in other words, and that will be always through the turning point of your parabola. And we know that the turning point is that x is equal to negative 0.5. Okay, so this is basically what it's going to look like. This is the line, that's the turning point, that's the line of symmetry through that turning point. And the question is, on the grid, draw the line of symmetry of your graph. Okay, that's the line of symmetry for a graph. Use your graph to find the maximum value of y. Well, the maximum value of y will be at this turning point. Okay, that's the highest value, and we know that's 2.25. 2.25. Draw the line y is equal to 1 on your grid. So y is equal to 1. That's just a horizontal line through. Y is equal to 1. Okay, so that's that line over there. Next question, write down the two values of x for which negative x squared plus x plus 2 is equal to 1. Okay, so they don't really say that you must use your graph to use this one, but they're saying, where is our equation? Because remember, it's of the form y is equal to negative x squared plus x plus 2. Where is y equal to 1? So looking at our table, we can actually solve this. Y is equal to 1, or on our graph if you want. Basically our graph, this is our graph over here, this is negative x squared plus x plus 2, this parabola. And you just have a look where its y value is 1, it's 1 over here, and it's a y value of 1 over here. So you just read off the x values are down below. Okay, but since it's not in our table, we'll have to use our graph. So it's roughly at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, negative 0.7 for example. And basically the other one is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1.7. And that's what you do. So the best thing to do is just draw a ruler through the y value that you're trying to look for. Okay, your graph is equal to, and then just read off the x values which give you that y value for your graph. Okay, so that is our parabola. Sorry, my eyes aren't too great with this grid on this computer. It's sort of like that graph paper I handed out one time. Okay, so Alex, you've seen this question, this was in the exam today. Basically calculate how much interest Alex earns. For simple interest, the formula is PRT over 100, where P represents the principal, or the value you put it into the account, $200. R is the rate you put it into the account for, it's going at 4.05% per year, and T is the time that he leaves it in for, 2 years. How much interest does he receive? So, P is 200, the rate is 4.05, and the time period is 2 years, all over 100. So putting this on our calculator, okay, I don't have a calculator with me, so I'm going to use the computer one, just going to get that out quickly. Okay, there is this calculator. Let's see if this works. So 200 times 4.05 times 2 divided by 100. And you guys should have probably got, maybe have got to this if you had your formula with you in the exam, which is 16.2. Okay, Bobby invests $200 for 2 years at 4% per compound interest. Calculate how much interest Bobby receives, give your answer to 2 decimal places. So compound interest formula is A is equal to P times 1 plus R over 100 to the power of N. Now remember, this formula is not like simple interest. Simple interest only gives you the interest that he earns off his money that he puts into the bank. Compound interest formula basically puts everything together, his total amount that he has. So to do this, we're going to get the total amount that he has and then just minus it off the value he has in the beginning, and they'll give you the interest that he earned over 2 years. So let's do that. So A is equal to P, stands for the amount he's putting into the account. He's putting 200 Rand into the account, $200. 1 plus R is the percent at which the interest is. So it's 4 over 100. N represents the years. He puts it in for 2 years. So 200 times 1.04 squared, and let's see what that gives us over here. So 1.04 times 1.04, and then just times 200, 216.32. Okay, so this is how much he has in total. So to get how much interest he earns, we just take this value, 216.32 minus the value he has in the beginning, and $16.32 to 2 decimal places. It is the 2 decimal places, so that's all good. Okay, the force of attraction F between two objects is inversely proportional to the square of the distance d between them. When d equals 4, F is equal to 30. Calculate F when d is equal to 8. So inversely proportional. So F is inversely proportional to square of d. So F is proportional to 1 over d squared. Okay, that's what we write in the beginning. You just say F is proportional to 1 over whatever it is inversely proportional to, which is inversely proportional to the square of d. So we just put d squared under the 1. Now the formula you need to know is F will be equal to a constant k over whatever it is inversely proportional to, d squared. So first step is to use the information given over here to find out what k is. So F is equal to k over d squared. So when F is 30, d is 4, so we're just going to substitute in 4 squared. Okay, just remember d is squared, so if d is 4, then d squared is going to be 4 squared. So 30 is equal to k over 16. So 30 times 16 will give us, okay, I hope that's right so far. So it's going to give us 480. Okay, hope it makes a little bit of sense. Cool. Let me know. You can always pause it and come back, and you can always send me questions if you want. Alright, so the next step now is to rewrite a formula that we had in the beginning. F is equal to k over d squared. We now know what k is. K is 480. So now we can do the question. Next step, calculate F when d is equal to 8. So when d is 8, you just substitute 8 into d, 480 over 8 squared, which is 480 over 64, and using our calculator, 480 divided by 64 is 7.5. So that's F. Okay, cool. So we're working to solve 5x over 2 minus 9 is equal to 0. Okay, so we want to get x by itself whenever we solve an equation. So we take everything to the right hand side now. That is basically what we want to get rid of. So if you want to get rid of the negative 9 and the positive 2 and the 5, we want x by itself. So we're going to get rid of those values one at a time. So the best thing to do is to start by taking away or across the values that aren't connected to the x. So the 5 and the 2 are connected to the x, but the negative 9 is not. So we can take the negative 9 to the right hand side. So to take away negative 9 on this side, we've got to add negative 9. And what we do to one side, we do to the other. So 5x over 2. If we add 9 on this side, it takes it away. But 0 plus 9 is 9. We can next take away this 2. We're dividing by 2. So we've got to do the opposite to take away the 2. So we're going to times by 2. So if you times both sides by 2, because what you do to one side, you do to the other. 2 is going to cancel over here. And then 9 times 2 is 18. And now lastly, it's 5 times x. So to take away the 5, we divide by 5. And what we do to one side, we do to the other. So we have x is equal to 18 over 5. Cool. Okay, calculator question. So we need to solve for x. For what value of x would we get a 0 for this equation? So given your answer is correct to one decimal place, so this is the hint. Whenever they say to one decimal place and you're solving for x, it means you have to use the quadratic equation. Negative b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a is equal to our x's. So let's do this. So this is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So we can see a is the value in front of the x squared. In this case it's just 1. B is 12 and c is positive 3. So substituting these values into this equation, x is equal to negative b, so negative 12 plus minus the square root b squared, so 12 squared, always keep your brackets in this case, minus 4 in bracket a, which is just 1, c, which is 3, all over 2 times a, which is 1, and then we get our values. So we're going to get two answers because of the plus and the minus over here. So negative 12 plus the square root of 12 squared minus 4 times 3 over 2 times 1. And the other value of x is going to be negative 12 minus the square root of 12 squared in brackets minus 4 times 3 times 1. But it's still the same thing as 4 times 3 all over 2. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave this here because this calculator on the computer might be a little bit awkward. Try and compute this on your calculator. If your value of x is correct, you just substitute it into this equation and you should get 0 if you have the right values of x. But these are your answers. Okay, simultaneous equations. To solve a simultaneous equation, you want to add or subtract these equations in such a way that either the x disappears or the y disappears. So this is equation 1, this is equation 2. Let's say for example you want to get rid of the x values. Okay, you can do the x or the y, it's up to you. If you want to make the x values the same as in the first equation, for example, so we have 2 and 6, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply equation 2 by 3. And it will make the x's the same. So let's do that. So equation 1 will stay the same. We won't change it. But equation 2, if you multiply by 3, it's going to become 3 times 2x. It's going to be 6x. Negative 3 times 3 is going to be negative 9y. And negative 8 times 3 is negative 24. Now, we can now add or subtract these equations, and the x's will disappear. So we've got to decide, are we going to add them or subtract them? The only way that the x's are going to disappear is we say 1 minus 2. So let's see what happens. Equation 1 minus equation 2. 6x minus 6x is going to be 0. 18y minus 9y is going to be plus 27y. And 57 minus 24 is 57 plus 24. So it's going to be 81. So y is equal to 81 over 27, which is 3. So we know our y value now is 3, which is correct. So to find our x value, all we do is, since we know y is 3, just sub it into one of these two equations and solve for x. So let's take the second equation. looks a little bit easier. So 2x minus 3y equals negative 8. When y is 3, 2x minus 3 times 3 is equal to negative 8. So 2x is equal to negative 8 plus 9. So 2x is equal to 1. X is equal to a half. And that's all you do. Same process all the time. Add or subtract these equations in such a way so that one of the variables disappear. Solve for the variable, and then take that variable and substitute it into any of one of these equations, and you'll find a value for it. And then you'll have your two solutions. Okay, directly proportional. So the previous question was inversely proportional. So the distance, the braking distance d, is directly proportional to the square of v. Let's just write that down. So d is proportional, directly proportional, to the square of v. In other words, v squared. So the equation for directly proportional is d is going to be equal to k, some constant, multiplied whatever d is directly proportional to. And d is directly proportional to the square of v, which is v squared. Okay, so using this information over here, we can solve for k. So when d is 5, v is 10. So d is equal to k v squared. When d is 5, v is 10. So 5 is equal to k times 100. So 5 over 100 is equal to k. So 1 over 20 is equal to k. Okay, so we might need a calculator in this case. So just have one ready if you are doing these questions. So d is equal to 1 over 20 v squared. So find d when v is 70. So now we can answer the question. So we just substitute v is 70 into this equation. D is equal to 1 over 20 times 70 squared, which is 1 over 20, times 4,900. And just divide that by 20. So you can cancel, it's going to be 490 over 2. Okay, so basics 245. Okay, cool. Just double check that calculator work for me if you can. If you are working with a calculator piece of paper in this video, and just double check that that is what it comes to. So that's how you do that. So linear programming, same question as we did on the school day, just before we ended there. The company has a vehicle parking area of 1,200 meters squared with a space for X cars, Y trucks. Each car requires 20 meters squared, and each truck requires 100 meters squared of space. Show that X plus 5Y is less than or equal to 60. So if they ever say show that some inequality exists, you just use information over here to try and make this inequality. So X represents the number of cars, Y represents the number of trucks. Okay. So basically, and both of these, I mean, the cars and the trucks both form vehicles. You know, they're both vehicles. So the number of trucks added to the number of cars will give you the number of vehicles in that space. So it says each car takes up 20 meters squared of space. So if you want to find out how much one car takes up, this is going to be 20 meters squared. Two cars will then take up 40 meters squared. 3 cars will take up 60 meters squared. So what's actually happening is you're just taking the number of cars, multiplying it by how much each car takes up. And it will give you basically the value of the space taken up. So formula here is just basically you just take 20 meters squared multiplied by how many cars there are. And then we're going to add on basically the area that the trucks take up. So the trucks are going to take up 100 multiplied by how many trucks there are. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. So this is the area that the cars and trucks both take up. Okay, where X and Y can change, the number of cars and number of trucks could change. So, but if, for example, if you had 2 cars and we had 3 trucks, then the number of space that 2 cars and 3 trucks would take up. You just substitute 2 into X, 3 into 100, and that'll give you how much space the trucks and cars take up. But they say this space can be only up to 1,200 meters squared. That's how much space the cars and the trucks can take up. So that is the maximum value. So the cars and trucks can take up less than or equal to 1,200 meters squared of space. Okay, because we can have fewer cars in the area or fewer cars in the space provided. Okay, so we have sort of an equality now, okay, from the information they've given us. So we're going to show that x plus 5y is less than or equal to 60. So we have 20 in front of the x. There's only a 1 in front of the x. Okay, it's invisible 1. So we'll divide everything by 20, and we hope that it will appear like that. So 20 divided by 20 was just x. Okay, we'll just leave it at x. 100 divided by 20 is 5. 1,200 divided by 20 is 60. And our inequality is basically the same. So we got it correct. There must also be space for at least 40 vehicles. So the vehicles will be the number of trucks and the number of cars added together. So the number of cars is x added to the number of trucks. Okay, this represents how many vehicles there are in total, and the vehicles must be at least 40. In other words, it can be greater than 40 or equal to 40. Okay, so the number of cars and trucks must be at least 40. There must be at least 2 trucks. Y represents the number of trucks, so Y must be greater than or equal to 2. At least 2, so it means a minimum of 2, therefore it's equal to 2, and it means at least 2, there can be more than 2 trucks, so therefore B can be greater than 2. So the two inequalities, x plus y is greater than or equal to 40, and y is greater than or equal to 2. Okay, so one line has been drawn for us. This is this equation up here, this inequality. We've got to draw these two now, and shade the unwanted region. So, taking these equations, or making them equations, x plus y is equal to 40, and y is equal to 2. To draw this graph, we need to find the x and y intercepts, so x plus y is equal to 40. To find the y-intercept, or in other words, where the line will hit the y-axis, make x 0, and we'll find y is equal to 40. So, where x is 0, it's this line here, and y is 40, that's the first point. And if we want to now find out where the x-intercept is, we just make y 0. So where y is 0, x is 40, and that's that point there. So now we can join these 2 points with a straight line. Okay. Next graph, y is equal to 2. That is just the horizontal line. Y is 2. Okay, now we come to shading the areas. So, for the first inequality, let's take y is greater than or equal to 2. So, if we take a point below or above this line, for example 0, 0 is a point below it. If we substitute 0, 0 into this inequality, okay, there's no x value, so we don't have to worry about that, but we know y is 0, so 0 is greater than or equal to 2. This is false. 0 is not greater than or equal to 2. So the area below y is equal to 2 is unwanted, so we shade the unwanted area like such. Okay, next line, x plus y must be greater than or equal to 40. So that's this line over here. Take a point below it, let's say 0, 0 again is the easiest point to use. So when x is 0, y is 0, it's going to be 0 plus 0, greater than or equal to 40. And 0 is once again not greater than or equal to 40. So below this line is our unwanted region. So everything below it. Okay. And the last line, x plus 5y must be less than or equal to 60, which is this line over here. So let's take a point below it again, 0, 0, and let's substitute into that inequality. When x is 0, it's going to be 0 plus 5 times 0 is 0. and this one is true. 60 is greater than or equal to 0. So the area below this line is true, so we shade everything above the line, because that is the false region. So in other words, we are left with this region over here, R, with a little triangle. So this little triangle satisfies all three inequalities that we have about our situation. So it says use your graph now to find the largest possible number of trucks. So trucks is represented by Y, so here's the Y-axis, and cars is represented by X. So if we look at our little area or region, the highest values that the trucks could be is at 5. So 5 trucks is the largest number of trucks that can be allowed in this area, according to our situation. Number E, the company charges $5 for each car and $10 for parking each truck, and the number of cars and trucks which gives the company the greatest possible income. So let's form an income formula. Chances are you're going to have to do this almost every time. Some equation that you're going to have to write up and use. So the total income will be, if it's $5 per car, the amount of income gained from the cars will be 5 times X. So if there's 3 cars, we'll make $15. If there are 4 cars, we'll make $20. So it gives the amount given for the cars. And we'll add that to the amount received from the trucks. So this is our equation for the total income we get by parking cars and trucks. Okay, number of cars and trucks. So now what we're going to do, the solution to the problem, or to the equation that we've drawn up, will always be on the vertices of our region. So a triangle has 3 corners, or vertices, there you are. So taking the coordinates of these points, substituting into this equation, we'll find out what the income is. So for example, this point over here, this is 38 and 2. So it's 38 cars and 2 trucks. Let's sub it in here. So it's going to be 5 times 38 plus 10 times 2. And that's going to be 190, I think. Just double check that. Plus 20, which is going to be 210. Okay, so that's the first income that we can see from the vertices. So if you have 38 cars and 2 trucks, we'll earn $210. The next one looks like it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 35. 35 and 5. Okay, so we're going to put this in our equation as well. For 35 and 5, it's going to be 5 times 35 plus 10 times 5. This is going to be 175, I think, if that's correct. So let me just make that there, and it's plus 50, which is equal to 225. Okay, so that is the second one. And the last one is, I think that's 50 and 2. 50 and 2. So let's see what that gives. So you have 50 cars, 2 trucks. So the income is going to be equal to 5 times 50 plus 10 times 2. 250 plus 20, which is 270. So of the 3 vertices, we see that when we have 50 cars and 2 trucks, we have the highest possible income, which is 270, because it's greater than 210 and 225. So the largest number of cars we can have is 50. Largest number of trucks, or not the largest number of cars or the largest number of trucks, it's just the cars and the trucks that give us the greatest possible income, which is $270. Okay, composite functions. F of x is equal to 2x plus 3, g of x is equal to x squared. So if they say find f of g of 6, keep in mind that if we have f of x is equal to 2x plus 3, f of 1 is equal to 2 times 1 plus 3, which is equal to 5. And if we're asked to find f of 2x, just take what's in the bracket, just put in place of the x, it's going to be 2 times 2x plus 3, which is equal to 4x plus 3. Over here we have f, and in the bracket it's g of 6. So in other words, if we know what g of 6 is, we'll just take that value and just put it in place of the x, and then work it out. So if we know what g of 6 is, g of 6 is going to be 6 squared, which is 36. So f of g of 6 is the same as saying f of 36, because 36 is the same as g of 6, as we just see over here. So take 36 and substitute it into f of x. So if you see an x in f of x, you're going to put 36. So f of x is equal to 2x plus 3. So f of 36 is going to be 2 times 36 plus 3, which is going to be 72 plus 3, which is 75. Okay, cool. Next one, solve the equation g of f of x is equal to 100. So we always work from the right. Substitute f of x into g. Okay, because g of f of x, okay, just keep in mind that g of x is x squared, so g of 1 is 1 squared. G of f of x is just taking f of x and just putting it in place of x. F of x is 2x plus 3, so g of f of x is the same as saying g of 2x plus 3. So wherever you see an x in g, you're going to be putting this value, so 2x plus 3 squared, and that's going to be, this is the same as 2x plus 3 times 2x plus 3. So that's the value that this is going to give us, and make it equal to 100. Okay, because basically g of f of x is 4x squared plus 12x plus 9. So when they say g of f of x is equal to 100, we just take what g of f of x is, which is 4x squared plus 12x plus 9. So 4x squared plus 12x plus 9, and we just make it equal to 100, as they just show over here. Take 100 to the left hand side. This is a quadratic equation, so it's 4x squared plus 12x. 9 minus 100 is negative 91. Make it equal to 0. And now we have to factorize or use the quadratic equation quadratic formula to find out what the value of x is in this question. Okay, so these values are pretty big. So the best thing to do would be straight away go to negative b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Okay, and if a is 4, b is 12, c is negative 91. Put those values in this equation and just find your two values of x. But just keep in mind when you say plus and minus, you will find one value of x by saying plus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, etc. And your other value of x when you say minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Okay, cool. So I'm going to leave you to do that. Let me know if you have any problems in finding that out. F to negative 1x. That just means the inverse of f of x. F of x is 2x plus 3. Now remember, f of x is the same as saying y. So the steps is r, swap x and y. And the second step is make y the subject. So swap x and y. X is equal to 2y plus 3. So make y the subject is the next step. So just continue here. X is equal to 2y plus 3. Sorry about that. Take the 3 across. X minus 3 is equal to 2y. X minus 3 over 2 is equal to y. So the inverse of f is going to be x minus 3 over 2. Cool. F of the inverse of 5. F of x is 2x plus 3. The inverse of f of x we now know is x minus 3 over 2. Starting from the right side, what is f of negative 1 of 5? Well, if f of negative 1 of x is equal to x minus 3 over 2, f of negative 1 of 5 is going to be 5 minus 3 over 2, which is 2 over 2, which is 1. So f of negative 1 of 5 is the same as saying f of, what is f of negative 1 of 5? That's just 1. F of 1. So f of x is equal to 2x plus 3. So f of 1 is 2 times 1 plus 3, which is 5. Solve the equation, giving your answer to 2 decimal places. There it is again. The quadratic formula is what you need in this case. So if you know A is 3, B is negative 13, C is negative 8, I'm just going to write this out for you. It's going to be negative of negative 13 plus the square root of negative 13 squared minus 4 times A, which is 3, times negative 8, which is C, over 2 times 3. Put this in your calculator correctly, you'll get your answer. Your second value of x is going to be the same thing, but just with a negative. This will be one answer, that will be your other. Let me know if you are okay with that. Last question is a graph question. Use your graph to find the value of f of 0. So we can see that y is equal to f of x. Where f of x is your function, so f of x we know is this cubic graph. Okay, it's a cubic equation, something of the form like x cubed plus bx squared plus x plus c. Okay, that is what this graph is over here. But they want to know, what is f of 0? In other words, if this graph is f of x, okay, f of x, what is the value of a graph when x is 0? Well, here's our graph. The value of the graph when x is 0, here's x is 0. So what is the value of this graph, or the y value of this graph, when x is 0? Well, it's this point over here. So there are 5 blocks for 5 units for every 10 blocks. So each block is 0.5. So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times 0.5 is 3. So when if x is 0, your y value is 3. When your x is now 8, f of 8, when x is 8, what is the value of your graph? Well, here's where x is 8, and this graph has a value of, let's have a look what this value is over here. So it is 2 from there, 1, 2, correct, it's negative 4. Negative 4 when x is 8. Now they're saying, where does your graph have a y value? You see it's in the form of y is equal to f of x. So when y is 0, y is 0, what are the values of x? So where's y0? So the best thing to do is to draw like a ruler. Use a ruler to put your ruler horizontally through the y0 line, which is this x-axis over here. It has a y of 0 here, here, and here. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3. And here we have 2 units per 10 blocks. So that's basically 0.2 per block. So it's going to be 8.6 over here. It's going to be 2, and it's going to be 1, 2. So it's going to be negative 1.6 on the left. So negative 1.6, 2, and 8.6. Those are the 3 values for which this graph has a y of 0. Where does your graph have a y of 5? For which x values? So if you had a ruler, and you just take your ruler, draw a line through 5, and find where your graph touches that line. So at this point over here, this point, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times 0.2 is 6 times 1 over 5, which is 6 over 5, which is 1 and 1/5, which is 1.2. So it's 9.2. Okay, so it's 1.2 from 8, so 1 add 1.2 on 8, so it's 9.2. And that is the value for x, for which it has a y of 5. Y of 5. K is an integer for which the equation f of x equals k has exactly 2 solutions. Use a graph to find the 2 values of k. Taking your ruler, they'll know for which y values would you basically have for k that your graph passes through twice, or has that y value twice. So the best thing to do is to take a ruler and put it along each of these y values. Okay, so starting from the top, this line hits the graph once. Okay, so there's only one solution. Okay, so still 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and as it hits the turning point, you can see the graph hits through that y value twice. So it hits the y value at x is 0, and it hits that y value when x is like 9 over here. So basically this y value gives us 2 solutions. Okay, anything below that you'll see it now goes through, now it's like 3 solutions. Hits the graph 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we only want it where it has 2 solutions, which is over there. Anything below is 3, anything above that's 1, so that's 2. So we found that point over here is 3. So when y is 3. Yay, cool. Second last question about the range. Okay, we don't need to do that one. The equation f of x plus 1 is equal to 0. That's alright as well. Okay, I hope you guys, it's probably a very long video, and I don't know if I've explained it very clearly, but I hope it's helped a little bit. Please let me know if you have any questions. Cool.